everyone. Welcome back to Raider Power TV, part of RaiderPower.com, providing with all the latest coverage in Texas Tech basketball. Travis Cram here. Standing next to me is Andy Ellis, former Texas Tech basketball player and current color analyst for the Texas Tech Sports Network. And, of course, you know him for his Inside the Lane columns here on the website. And, Andy, let's start with the game against TCU this past week. Obviously not the game Pat Knight wanted with this team having to go into a 10-game break. But talk a little bit about what Tech needs to improve off that one.
Well, they obviously didn't play very well in the second half. Everybody that saw the game or listened to it probably knew that. But it's just small things with this team. I think we can all see the talent and the ability there with this team, but they just haven't got it together right now. And I think we see stretches of it, but they just can't put it together for a whole 40 minutes. I thought that TCU game, they played pretty well for the first half. Came out in the second half, and it was just a little sluggish. And, the problem is, and we've talked about it in my column and on the air, that every team has good players. And when you let those players get confidence and get going, it's tough to beat those teams even at home. And so I think that was something that Tech fell into there in that TCU game. They just gave TCU too much confidence, and down the stretch we couldn't make the plays to win it.
You mentioned plays to win it. Singletary with that shot at the end. Obviously, he hits that. It's like no matter how bad they played, it's a tied game all of a sudden. What things – he's been the one who's kind of come on lately, but has struggled at the same time with some of the other players playing that role player position. Who do you think needs to step up going into this stretch right before the end of the year?
Well, I think it's a team thing. I think everybody wants to throw that blame on the seniors solely, and it's not totally on them. It is on them, but it's on everybody else too. I think this team right now is all kind of playing the same way. There's guys that play well at stretches and then where we all don't play good at the same time. And I think we've got to get where – more guys there's more consistency and more guys playing well with just one or two guys not having a good game at a time instead of the whole team. And I think consistency for this team is they've got to figure out what they are, how they want to play, and then be consistent with it and build on these next 5 games getting into conference.
Next one, of course, starts with UTEP on Saturday, that game in El Paso. And when you're talking about the Miners, it begins with Randy Culpepper, who's arguably a human highlight show in himself.
He is. He's only 6 foot tall. That might be elevated a little bit, but, he likes to get the shots up. He's very athletic. He'll get out on the break. And UTEP is a great team. They have 8 seniors on their team, so they're even more experienced than we are. And, they've learned how to win. They've been a pretty good team here for the last couple of years, and so that's a tough place to play. I remember going and playing there. It's a tough place to play. Those El Paso fans are in there and packing it, and it'll be a tough game for Tech, but I still think it's a game where you can win. You've got to go in there and you've got to put together 40 minutes of defense and rebounding, I think, is where it starts at for Tech. And then you're able to get out on the break, get some shots up, start knocking down some jumpers. Tech really hasn't shot that well this year, but we all know that they can. There's a lot of shooters out there, guys that can make shots. But for this team, I think it all starts on the defensive end. We've got to be one unit, 5 guys playing together, getting stops, getting rebounds, and then get out on the run. And if they do that, I think they'll have a chance. They obviously have to focus on Culpepper. He's averaging 20 a game. He's going to get his shots up, probably going to score his points, but you want to limit everybody else and not let Culpepper go off for 35 or 40.
All right, so defense and rebounding, that'll be 2 keys to that game. Be sure to check back at RaiderPower.com right after the game for all the results and details following Texas Tech.